Welcome back to normal baseball. Spring training is in full swing. We are just 2 weeks away from the regular season. Cody Bellinger and Matt Chapman were forced to sign deals that they might have not wanted, and that might be because of Scott Boras. We're going to talk about all that, including some more about some players that have been impressing us this spring. Welcome back to normal baseball. I'm Alex Normal Dog. That's Lewis. And baseball.
Baseball.
Spring training is... we're in the middle of spring training, right around the middle, I'd say.
Yeah, just about.
We're 2 weeks away from the opening day for the Dodgers Padres in South Korea, which is going to be a fun matchup. That happens
Certainly
a week
will be.
before everyone else starts, and I'm ready to talk about what's going on in baseball. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. Of course, as we get closer to the regular season, we'll talk more about it, but some stuff has happened in the last couple of weeks, and we're here to talk about it.
Yeah, let's jump right into it, man.
First of all, how excited are you about baseball coming back? Regular season?
Beyond excited, knowing that right now, sure, the games might not matter that much to a bunch of players, but knowing that just around the corner, we're going to see every player in baseball giving you 110% at the major league level and below that is what I'm honestly dying for. I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait for it. And I think a lot of teams are going to come out and be exciting, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most. But let's get through these last 2 weeks or so of spring training.
Yeah, so let's do it. So to start off, I think we should talk about what I was mentioning before with Cody Bellinger and Matt Chapman. They both signed deals last week. Cody Bellinger signed with the Chicago Cubs, re-signed technically.
Yeah.
And Matt Chapman signed with the San Francisco Giants. Lewis, do you have the details for both of those contracts?
I believe I do off the top of my head. So if I get this wrong, I will still look it up. In the meantime, Cody Bellinger signed a 3-year, $80 million extension. Well, I guess technically just deal because he did hit free agency, where the first year pays him $30 million. Then he has an opt-out, a player opt-out. The next year, if he chooses to opt in into that next season, he gets $20 million. Then the year after that, if he chooses to opt in again, then he gets another $20 million. Oh, no, it's $30 million in the second year. So it's $30 million, $20 million, $80 million contract in total. Obviously, in between each season, there is an opt-out on the player's side. Botch job from Scott Boras. Is that fair to say?
I'd say so. I mean, all off season, it was said that Cody Bellinger and Scott Boras were looking for upwards of $200 million, a $200 million deal. So you could think, 10 years, $200 million, or 8 years, $200 million. They were looking for $200 million plus. And obviously, they did not get that. I mean, 3 years, $80 million is still a pretty good deal, especially with the player options, 3 player options, which surprised me a little bit because I think that's why a lot of people didn't want to bite on Bellinger. They weren't sure. But again, only 3 years. It's very interesting. Very interesting to me because they had offers from other teams for a lot more money and a lot more years than this Cubs deal. But they were trying to hold out for as long as possible, and they paid the price.
Yeah.
At some point, they had no choice but to pick an offer. Because once you get this far into spring training,
you need to make the team.
You have to sign with someone.
Yeah.
You have to start your offseason. You have to know what team you're going to be on. And I guess at that point, they just went with the safe route and went with the Cubs. I heard that the Blue Jays, who were the other team that was heavily in on Bellinger, at some point just said, all right, no, we're out. You're asking for too much. We're out.
Right, which it makes sense from a organization side to say, like, hey, sure, you came back from, these horrible injuries, and we're happy that you were able to thrive in your new situation and scenario. However, why after one good season, after you've been bad for 3 years, should we give you, they wanted $200 million or more? I kind of agree with the teams on this one of why pay Bellinger after one good season when they're asking for so much money that you could dedicate to other free agents, not just in this free agent class, but moving forward. Not having $200+ million locked up in one player that is sort of a wild card every year is not really the best situation if you're an MLB organization.
No, I agree. I think that wild card factor is what drew teams away from that long-term contract with Bellinger. And again, like I said, did not work out for them. Which is the same thing with Matt Chapman.
Yeah.
Matt Chapman got an $100 million deal offer from the Blue Jays to go back to Toronto. And they held out to try to get more money or more years or the exact contract they wanted. And now look, now he has to settle for a 3-year deal with the Giants instead.
It is if we just want to transition to Matt Chapman here, it is a 3-year deal with the same structure as the Cody Bellinger contract, opt out after each year. However, Matt Chapman this upcoming season has a $16 million contract. After this season, he has player opt out for $17 million. Then the year after that is a player option for $18 million. And then if it gets to that 4th year, there's a mutual option for $20 million, which a lot of money, especially for an aging third baseman who, Alex, you and I were just talking about it. His hit tool is not always there. The defense is for sure. He will always be a great third baseman, but the bat of Matt Chapman, especially in a larger ballpark in a larger division in the NL West, will it play the same way that it played in the AL East, where there were smaller ballparks? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see on that. Got a funny feeling, though, that this is just another classic. Scott Boras really messed up this player's free agency. Obviously, nothing to be too worried about. He's still a multimillionaire after one season, so good on him. But would have been nice to see him stick with the Blue Jays and get that really, really big bag.
I mean, I don't really care what money he got. I don't care where he ended up necessarily. I think that this contract is really interesting. I think it shows that teams are officially saying to Scott Boras, we're not going to just agree to your terms because you're holding out and because you're saying that another team's going to get this guy if you don't agree to this deal. And Matt Chapman, you just said it. The glove's always going to be there. I mean, he won a Gold Glove last year. And the bat wasn't horrible last year, but you also have to think he had that really, really good April. That certainly helped him out.
And then it just went downhill.
He went downhill, and then he kind of started to plateau. Like, he wasn't atrocious towards the end of the season. It's interesting to me. It raises the question of, will teams just stop dealing with Scott Boras from now on?
That's a loaded question, Alex. Honestly, I don't think that there is a baseball world without Scott Boras in it. I do
Eventually
think, though,
there will be.
Well, yes, obviously, but let's hope that time does not come soon. Obviously, I do think though that if I'm like a young prospect coming up or a guy about to enter into the MLB draft, and Boras is approaching me like, "Hey, can we please represent you?" I'm looking at this last free agent year and saying, like, dude, you might be a little bit washed in the game of being an agent. Shohei's agent got him $700 million. Not Shohei Ohtani's agent. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's agent got him the highest paid contract for a starting pitcher ever. There are a lot of other guys out there that are represented by other companies or other agents other than Scott Boras who are going to get paid or who have been paid already a lot more than what Scott Boras has done for his clients in the past. I mean, let's be real. The last big thing that Scott Boras did was Bellinger? Not Bellinger. Harper.
Cole.
Does he represent Cole?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, even then, Harper was $5 million more. Or...
Well,
10 million more?
I guess, but less years.
Yeah, it does.
More AAV, I think.
Higher AAV, yes, for sure. But point stands of, it's been a while since Boras has really, gotten his guys the amount of money that he has been expected to get his guys. And it's been other agents who are getting that money.
I think it's going to be a trend for the next, I don't know how many years, but I think it will start to be a quite obvious trend of anyone being represented by Scott Boras. Teams are going to start saying, we don't even want to talk to Scott Boras. Like, it's not worth getting this player unless you want to talk to us once and we can come to terms maybe once or twice, but we're not playing your little game. We're not going to stick around while you tell us that other teams are making offers that they might not actually be offering, and you're looking for way too much money for this player just because of this. I mean, we're seeing it with Blake Snell. If we want to, But now we're jumping around. We can talk about that later. But I think Scott Boras is finally getting what was coming to him in the sense of teams just not dealing with this shit anymore.
Yeah, and let's be real. There's already one team that has gone out there and publicly stated that they don't want to work with Scott Boras unless they absolutely have to.
Los Doyers.
That's the Dodgers. Yeah, the Dodgers refuse to work with Scott Boras 90% of the time when, let's be real, if the Dodgers did want to work with Scott Boras, I think it would have been fun to have Matt Chapman on the Dodgers rather than whoever their third baseman is. Is it Max Muncy?
The Dodgers' third baseman is Max Muncy.
Yeah, it is. It is. I don't know why in my head I thought that it was Gavin Lux for a moment, but that's definitely just not the case.
He's definitely their shortstop.
Yeah, but even then, like I feel like Boras has had opportunities time and time again where if he did not give off this energy and be this disrespectful towards his players and everything and just caring about the dollar amount, then we would be talking about him in a lot different light. Which, Scott, if you're out there, Mr. Boras, and watching this, hello, we'd love to talk to you, but you've done a botched job in the past few years. I think that you could do a lot better.
Damn. All right.
Just telling him how it is. Telling him how it is.
I mean, I would happen to agree with you. I think that he's getting a little ambitious at this point, especially with a guy like Cody Bellinger, who, like we just talked about, if we want to circle back to him, yes, he fits very well on this Cubs team right now, but like we said, the last 2 years before last year, 3 years even, were absolutely atrocious. 2 years. But I don't know. It's weird to me. And I will say though, if we're just talking about Bellinger in general, if we move on from Scott Boras a little bit, Bellinger's a great fit on this Cubs team. He was a great fit last year. If he performs like he did last year, again this year, does not take that step back, like I'm sure a lot of teams were worried that he might, this Cubs team could be pretty dangerous.
Oh, for sure.
Just looking, right now they have Cody Bellinger listed as the team's first baseman. I mean, I haven't been following along with Cubs spring training too much. If he's their first baseman every day next year, interesting. I mean, it makes sense because in the outfield, I guess Tauchman, Happ, and Seiya, yeah. Damn, is Cody Bellinger really going to be playing first base like all of next year?
I don't know. I guess it depends on what they want to do with their DH spot. Right now they have, on Fangraphs at least, it is slotted in for Michael Busch, the former Dodger prospect, who they acquired in an early trade in the offseason. Well, early in the year, calendar year, this offseason. I don't think that would be the case. My best guess could be they move Seiya to DH, Ian Happ plays right, Bellinger in center, and maybe Pete Crow Armstrong.
Well, if they don't have a first baseman, so someone has to play first base, and out of those options, it's going to be Cody Bellinger.
Well, it could be Patrick Wisdom. What about Frank Schwindel? Is he still around?
Then someone gets bounced out of the starting lineup. It doesn't make sense.
I do think that.
I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do, but either way, this Cubs team, they were very close to making the playoffs last season.
One Seiya Suzuki fly ball away.
Yes, the infamous fly ball. But yeah, they were close to making the playoffs last year. You bring back Bellinger, not to mention Shota Imanga. Excited to see him.
Yeah,
and
a little bit rocky start in spring training for him, but that's why it's spring training. Give him some time to adjust.
Spring training is weird. I mean, we'll talk about it. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it right now, but spring training, in my opinion, spring training is the time to overreact when players are doing good. But if players are doing bad, you can definitely just brush it off as saying, oh, it's just spring training. It's okay. It's a very weird time of year because even if a player does bad, I mean, unless they're like Juan Soto is having a pretty good spring, but if he came out here and was like 0 for like 11, then it would be problem. It wouldn't just be like, oh, it's just spring. But I'd say for a majority of players, if they're performing bad, you're just like, oh, it's just spring. But if they're performing really good, you're like, this guy's awesome. This guy's going to have a crazy good year.
Hey, it might just be just spring, but take a look at this.
And some of the top performers in spring training so far have actually been young rookies, or not even debuted yet, prospects. Today, Jackson Holliday had a 3-hit day, which included a double, a triple, and a single. So he was a homer away from the cycle, and he did come up for a fourth at bat.
He did.
He could have done it, but he didn't.
He did not.
They
wound up pulling him, right?
James Wood of the Nationals is having a hell of a spring training.
Oh yeah,
1,500 OPS or 1.5 OPS.
Genuinely, he is one of those guys that is making a very, very good case for being one of the first prospects called up in all of baseball. Like, he is putting on a show.
Prospects called up in all of baseball.
Like this upcoming
This
season.
season, gotcha.
Yeah, like he's making a great case for why he should be part of that Nationals organization at the major league level as soon as humanly possible. I think that this next generation of Nationals is very much, the Nationals trying to turn that corner away from being poverty, and the fact that they've done it so fast.
Poverty is crazy.
The fact that they've done it so fast. I mean, it is 2024. 5 years ago, they won the World Series. Usually when you see teams rebuild, especially in baseball, you're talking about multiple 100 loss seasons. I think the Nats only have 2. I think that you're rebuilds in baseball don't usually go this fast, and I think that the Nationals are very much ahead of schedule, and it's exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in on the Nationals for the next
however long,
4 years, I'd say.
Easily.
I mean, you look at the young guys. They have C.J. Abrams. Lane Thomas is still pretty young. He's only 28. You have Keibert Ruiz, who's been an absolute stud, and I think he's just going to continue to get better and better.
Love him.
Victor Robles is still somehow only 26 years old.
Yeah, it feels like he's a million
He's been
years
in
old.
the league for like 95 years. Riley Adams, Carter Keyboom, Stone Garrett. Love Stone Garrett.
Yep.
And that's just in the lineup. Then you talk about James Wood. You talk about some of their
Dylan Cruz,
their
Robert
prospects.
Hassel.
Yes, Robert Hassel, Dylan Cruz. They have a very bright future. Not to mention on the pitching side, you have Josiah Gray, Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin.
Yeah, I mean, all the
they
potentials
have a very
there.
bright future.
And the most important part about rebuilding in terms of Major League Baseball teams is that they also have shown, and that's why the ownership group actually took the team off the market for sale this offseason. They want to actually spend money, and they want to build a good product on the field in the coming years. And part of that is not having everyone in your organization think, hey, if the team gets sold tomorrow, am I going to be fired or whatever? Do they want to bring in a different guy? Just giving security to the people who are actually responsible for building the team is very, very important. And in the next couple of years, I would not be surprised if a couple of big-name free agents took a lot of money to go play for the Nationals, especially with their young core.
Take notes, Athletics.
Take notes. Fuck you, Athletics.
Wow. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, my apologies.
I
love the
Athletics.
Athletics.
That was a little ridiculous.
John Fisher, go to hell.
That's
I'll say
crazy.
it. I'll say it. I'll be brave. Anyways, next topic.
Well, speaking of the Oakland Athletics, they actually released a rendering of their new stadium today. It kind of looks like the Sydney Opera House from the outside. I don't know if you saw that angle of the rendering.
I did.
Looks ginormous. It's a $1.5 billion project, obviously in Las Vegas. They are moving.
Which means it's going to probably end up being a total of $2.5 billion after, because I think that they're being very generous with that, because after you see how big the stadium looks and that amount of glass, and saying that they want to have a multi-layered roof on the top of the stadium to allow certain levels of sunlight to get in, seems ridiculous. I definitely think that $1.5 billion might be too low.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how that works.
What do you think?
They said $1.5 billion, so I was.
Yeah. I think that
I'm excited.
The stadium looks very, very nice.
I do feel for Oakland Athletics fans, but I have been thinking about it a lot recently. And, if you are John Fisher and you're just trying to make as much money as possible,
it's just what's right.
If he moved to Las Vegas, he doesn't have to build a good team, and he still makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that has nothing to do with the stadium. The stadium actually looks pretty cool. It would probably be one of the most, high-tech, modern-looking stadiums. I think, obviously the most high-tech, modern-looking stadiums.
In all of sports.
Of sports.
They would definitely contend with that new Clippers arena, for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing what the current plans are for it, because there has been a lot of dispute about building it, where they want it, and how much they want it, and how much the cost is, and, trying to figure out where their home will be until it's done. Because I don't know if you know this, Alex, after this season, the Oakland Athletics lease on the Oakland Coliseum is actually up. And the Oakland Athletics, as of right now, as the time of this recording, they won't have anywhere to play next season. Not this upcoming one, the next one. There are a few places that have been thrown around, like their AAA stadium. The Giants have offered, to share their stadium, which that would be honestly insane.
I think we will see them play in a bunch of different places.
Mhm.
I think they might even wind up playing a few games in the Coliseum as well. I definitely would not rule that out as a possibility.
The reunion tour, like one season after.
Well, yeah, I think it's possible for them to just sign a 1-year lease just to be able to use it for another year. I don't think that's
Maybe, but how willing is the city of Oakland to do that? I believe it is through their government. I'm not 100% sure, but
I don't really know. They need somewhere to play.
yeah,
If they're
my
playing in
best
a AAA stadium all year. That's
Yeah, but isn't there AAA stadium in Vegas?
Yeah.
So I think that their AAA stadium is the best bet. Start really gathering an audience now while the team's bad and you don't even have a full major league stadium there, and then just transition to your new stadium when it's done. But it would also be very, very cool to see 2 American League teams playing in Oracle Park, I think it's called now. That would be interesting. It'd be even more entertaining if they wind up, like, everyone says no to them and they're playing on, like, a high school field or, like, a D3 field.
they're not.
That would be
That's
beyond entertaining.
That's not happening.
It's a shot in the dark, but I thought it would be funny.
Yeah, it's not possible.
Fair enough.
Remember, they also have to host a visiting team.
Yeah, they do.
Something tells me other teams are like, I'm not playing there.
To be
That's
fair,
not
a lot. If have you listened to like some MLB players talk this offseason?
Yes, I have at points. Yes.
One of my favorite questions that I hear every MLB player get asked is, which ballpark do you like to travel to the most? Which ballpark do you like to travel to the least? I don't think I've heard one person say that they don't like traveling, that they like traveling to Oakland. Everyone is like, Oakland sucks, I don't like playing it. And then there's obviously like the outliers of like, oh, I always give up 10 runs when I play in Miami or 8 runs whenever I play in Arlington. But everyone else is always, the Coliseum is the worst stadium in sports. And it makes sense.
I mean, it is. It wasn't built for baseball.
It was not.
It should have never really realistically housed baseball. And you said it to me earlier. I mean, think about $1.5 billion for that Vegas stadium. Probably would have built something nice in Oakland as well.
Oh,
But
the stadium that could have been built in Oakland, obviously, like the renderings came out for that a few years ago when it was still in talks that the Oakland A's would stay in Oakland. Those stadiums look gorgeous, and I guarantee you that fans from all over the country would have went to it. It's just like, even you and I, we've thrown around the idea of going to Oakland, but at the end of the day, we really don't want to go because the stadium is talked about like it's a 1-star restaurant, and no one wants to eat there because of like food poisoning. It's just, what's the point of going there when you know you're just going to be sitting in a shithole?
no, it's fair.
So that's where I stand on it.
I am in a similar boat to you. I don't know if I'm in the exact same boat, but similar boat. I would like to move on from the A's because I hate talking about the A's.
Fair enough.
Because they're the A's.
I cannot blame you.
I'll talk about Estuary Ruiz all day, every day.
And
but
Brent Rooker, God bless him.
the Athletics as an organization, I'm done talking about them. I'm so over it. An organization I'm not done talking about is the Philadelphia Phillies because they are fans of spending money.
They certainly
As they
are.
showed just a couple days ago when they agreed to a 3-year, $126 million extension with starting pitcher Zack Wheeler. It is the largest extension in baseball history in terms of AAV. He'll be making $42 million a year.
Whew.
I mean, incredible.
That
Wheeler
is so much
is
money.
now with the Phillies through the 2027 season, and he arguably is their co-ace with Aaron Nola. I'd say if someone asked me who the Phillies ace was, I would say it's both of them.
Really?
So you lock up your co-ace, in my opinion. You lock up your co-ace, and I think this was a huge move for the Phillies.
I like that. I've never heard co-ace in terms of the Phillies. I like that idea. That's a good one.
I think it's
very
out of
applicable.
any
I've never
team-
thought about that.
Out of any team that I could think of that would have a co-ace, it would be the Phillies.
It would be the Phillies. No, you're right about that. I think it's amazing to see the Phillies spending this amount of money on a guy who, let's be real, when they brought him in, they did not think that he would hit the expectations that they had set for him, especially coming from the Mets. He's done nothing but wonders. Let's not forget also the Phillies it feels like they're never done spending money. They offered Yoshinobu Yamamoto more money than the Dodgers offered him.
They did, but
Which is-
unfortunately the Dodgers had that other guy.
Yeah,
what's
Shohei
his name?
Ohtani.
OJ Shotani.
OJ Shohei, oh my God.
Sorry, I mean Shohei Ohtani, obviously.
Shohei Ohtani does not drive a white Ford Bronco. But yeah, I'm impressed at how much the Phillies and their organization and Dave Dombrowski has spent on this team. And it is showing that putting a good product on the field packs out that stadium night in and night out. There is not one day that I feel like you can watch a Phillies game on air or you can go to the stadium and not see the food lines very long. Almost every ass in a seat, people mingling just around the ballpark. The bar that's right outside of Citizens Bank Park is always packed, and they always talk about it on every broadcast. That's what happens when you spend money, and I think it's amazing.
Right. Well, they're a good team, obviously. So of course people are going to show up. They've made the NLCS in the last 2 years. Made the World Series 2 years ago. I'm thinking about it, more from this Phillies rotation standpoint.
Oh,
Because, like I just said, they've made the NLCS 2 years in a row now. They made it to the World Series in 2022, and this rotation has potential to be one of the best in baseball this year. And,
for sure.
That might be a hot take because after Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola, you got Ranger Suarez, Taijuan Walker, and Christopher Sanchez. By the way, Christopher Sanchez, I watched him a decent bit last year, and I liked what I saw.
Yeah.
So I'm in on Christopher Sanchez. Taijuan Walker, a bit of a down year last year.
A little bit, but he's still him and Walker Suarez, Taijuan Walker and Ranger Suarez, in my opinion, have had moments where they step up big time. Whether that be in the starter role or during that late regular season, early postseason run that they've had in the last couple of years where Suarez or Walker is coming out of the bullpen. It's impressive to me what the Phillies are able to get out of those first four guys. I have not watched much Christopher Sanchez, so I'm going to trust you with all that. But when you're talking about Ranger Suarez and Taijuan Walker, I think that there have been plenty of moments where they have stepped up and have looked like that Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola, like ace caliber pitchers, just for that one or two starts that they really needed to keep winning games or to keep going in the postseason. And that's really freaking cool to me.
Yeah, I don't think it needs too much more explaining than that. I mean, we've seen how good this Phillies pitching staff has been in the last couple of years, especially that bullpen. So, you lock up your starters to ensure that you'll get, like, Zack Wheeler is one of the workhorses of MLB. He will be pitching every fifth day, and he'll give you a solid 6 or 7 innings. He could give you 8, too. So, again, I love this move for the Phillies. Lock up your ace or your co-ace, whatever you want to call him.
$42 million a year is like an absurd amount of money.
I know. It's crazy because when Verlander and Scherzer got their deals for 43, we were saying that's kind of insane. But now you get it for a younger pitcher than Scherzer and Verlander. So does it make sense now? Or is Wheeler, would you still say, is not on that level of Scherzer and Verlander? Like, did Wheeler deserve $42 million a year?
Let's be real. I think that there are some things that cannot be quantified just by looking at numbers on a baseball sheet, and that is just the effect that Zack Wheeler brings to the Phillies every fifth day when he's starting. You see it especially in the postseason, and I'm sorry to keep talking about the postseason, Phillies fans. Obviously, he has not won the World Series, so it might be a little bit heartbreaking to hear. But when Zack Wheeler is on that mound, it feels like Kyle Schwarber is almost destined to hit at least a bomb. Feels like Bryce Harper is always going to be that guy that steps up in the biggest moment possible. It feels like Zack Wheeler just is the engine to the Phillies train. And, if you're going to spend money anywhere in terms of a train, it's going to be on the engine. You got to make sure that thing's running and running smoothly. And Zack Wheeler brings all of that and more to your organization, especially if you are the Phillies.
Of course. And there is still room for the Phillies to improve this offseason because there are still some unsigned free agents out there.
There certainly are, Alex.
Not just any unsigned free agents, some marquee free agents, I'd argue, including the likes of Blake Snell, Scott Boras' client, Jordan Montgomery, Scott Boras' client, JD Martinez, Scott Boras client it. I don't know who the rest of the clients, but those three are the top 3 free agents remaining. All Scott Boras guys.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a common theme here.
Certainly am.
And I don't know. I think, when do you think that these guys are going to sign? Because, again, opening day technically is less than 2 weeks away, or 2 weeks and a day away for Dodgers and Padres. I guess it's technically 3 weeks and a day away. I guess by the time this is uploaded, it'll be exactly 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks away, and then for every other team is 3 weeks away. These guys need time to
adjust,
get to their teams, and then start practice. I mean, obviously, I think that they are all ramping up, but they're not ramping up with their team, which might not seem as important, but it's a very important thing to get used to the coaches, unless they go right back to the team that they were on.
Yeah, no, you're completely right about that. I do think that, Boras, we talked about it already, botched everything. We're going to probably wind up seeing Blake Snell and Montgomery take the same structured deal of opt-out after every year. I don't think any team is going to give that to Blake Snell. I'm going to be very honest. Blake Snell is such a volatile subject just because for every inning he pitches, he will walk a batter. And things can get out of control very quickly with a runner on first base. We'll just have to wait and see. I will be honest, and you said it to me earlier, right before we got down here to record this. Imagine Blake Snell in this Phillies rotation. Like,
that'd be crazy.
If they're gonna do a shorter term deal, every contending team should be knocking at Scott Boras' door, saying like, "Hey, if you're gonna do a 2-year deal with an opt out in the middle, we are more than happy to jump on top of that, and then we'll take your season. And then if you want to opt out and think you can get more, be our guest." It would be a lot of fun. Obviously, both of the top pitchers right now. I almost said Zack Wheeler. Who are they? Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell.
Who are they?
Both lefties. So imagine we'll just use the Phillies, for example, just because that's what I have pulled up here. Imagine instead of Christopher Sanchez being their 5 starter, imagine Blake Snell being their 2 starter. Like,
no, it would be scary, especially for the Phillies. I think in general, whoever gets these guys, like, obviously these guys are really valuable. Blake Snell is coming off his 2nd Cy Young of his career. I don't care if he walks a batter every inning. If the runs don't score, the runs don't score.
No, you're right about that.
At the end of the day. But again, it all comes down to Scott Boras and what he's doing and how he's preventing these players from, not necessarily preventing players from signing the contracts, but maybe over negotiating these contracts, and it's just taking so long. And it's like, how is the Cy Young winner from last year not signed to a team 2 weeks away from opening day?
And only has 1 public contract offer from the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did this last time, but we could do it again. We'll do it for the top 3 free agents. We'll do it for Snell, Monty, and JD.
Let's do it.
Where do you see them ending up? Blake Snell, where do you see him ending up?
The Mets.
The Mets?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
I'm going into the actual New York City, and I'm going with the Yankees.
Okay. Actually,
okay.
I'm changing my pick. Astros.
That's insane. All right.
That would be
Jordan
fun.
Montgomery.
Jordan Montgomery, I think, should just go back to Texas at this point. I don't
agree.
think that there's any place else, especially with how badly the Red Sox are being ran. I think last episode I said the Red Sox, but let's be real, they're a shit show in themselves. They're not doing anything.
Chaim Bloom was actually on the broadcast today during their spring training game, but I
was?
wasn't able to listen to it because I was watching the game,
Love
but
Chaim.
I couldn't listen to it.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, I think for Monty, the obvious answer is the Rangers.
Just go back.
He fits well. I mean,
he fits
they
so
need
well.
a 5th guy in that rotation, especially with DeGrom out.
Yeah, and also not being in the
Tyler Mahle's out, Max Scherzer's out.
Not being under the microscope that is the New York City market really helped Jordan Montgomery thrive and become one of the best pitchers that we've seen left-handed wise, especially in that postseason run. He was dominant.
Yeah.
And then that 3rd guy.
And, yeah, JD Martinez, because we know the Dodgers aren't picking him back up because Shohei Ohtani is their everyday DH. So where do you see him fitting in? I have my. You want me to go first?
You want to say it at the same time? Because I think we might have the same place.
I don't think we do, but we can say it at the same time.
All right.
All right, ready? 3,
Count it down.
2, 1.
Marlins.
Diamondbacks.
Ooh. Diamondbacks would have been my 2nd place, but I like the Marlins. I like the Marlins a little bit more.
I like the Marlins now that you said it. Diamondbacks is interesting to me because they have a young team, and JD Martinez is one of the best hitting minds in baseball.
For sure.
He knows what he's doing when he goes up to the plate. He analyzes his past at bat every single time.
He's
He
a
knows
big
what he's
stat
doing.
guy.
He's smart.
Big
He's
stat
smart.
guy.
He's a smart man, JD Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a very valuable piece. I don't think a lot of people realize that. Just doubles. He had a really good year
Just
last
doubles.
year too.
Just doubles.
I think he'd fit well in this Diamondbacks
See,
lineup. The only issue is right now they have a full outfield: Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and they also have Jock Peterson listed as the DH. So what happens to Jock if you pick him up? I don't know. That's just first gun to my head. Well, maybe not gun to my head, but
that
when
would
someone
be crazy.
says like, "Oh, where's JD Martinez going?" First thing I would think of is
The Diamondbacks.
Just it just makes sense in my head.
No,
I think it's a good
get
fit
that.
too. I think he would fit well on this Diamondbacks team.
The thing with the Diamondbacks and the reason why I
Take
said
Yamamoto deep a few times this year.
yeah, that's true. That's what she said. I do think the one thing with the Diamondbacks though and JD Martinez is that he would have to take less money just because he is guaranteed to not be an everyday player with their lineup. Whereas if he goes to the Marlins, they just lost Jorge Soler. He would slide perfectly into their DH role.
That's true. That's true. I like that.
Yeah, but it could go any way. It would not surprise me if tomorrow I woke up and JD Martinez is signing a 1-year deal with the freaking Guardians. You know, like
It could happen.
it would not surprise me in the slightest. I think that JD Martinez, anywhere he goes, is going to improve the team around him. I would love to see him in Detroit with those younger guys of Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Terry Tarpenter, like those guys having the hitting mind of JD Martinez around them for the entire season would do wonders for their game in the future, just because JD Martinez, like you said, is a great baseball mind and is very, very good at learning the game of baseball within the game of baseball, if you know what I mean.
I'm no longer on the Marlins because if you look at their outfield, Jesus Sanchez, Brian De La Cruz,
He'd be a DH.
Jazz Chisholm Jr., DH, Avasail Garcia, they're probably not going to bench Avasail Garcia. I don't know.
You never know. You never know. You never know.
We'll see. That's all I got
Well,
for today. I'm
Obviously,
excited.
Garcia is a lot more likely to be a bench than Jock Peterson.
True. True. That's all I got. You got anything else to say before we head out? I mean,
Shout out the Giants.
This was a bit of an unorganized episode. We just wanted to get an episode, a little news out for you guys. We'll have another episode in the next couple days, and then over the next week, we'll have some team projections, and we'll have some more content out for you guys from spring training, because we're actually going to spring training next week.
Finally.
Which is exciting. So with that, that's all I got. We thank you guys for watching, listening, viewing, and subscribe if you enjoyed, follow if you enjoyed, and share if you enjoyed. I'm Normal Dog. That's Lewis. And that is Bobblehead Bob Euchre.
Bob Euchre, baby, with the WWE belt.
And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.